At UFC 283, Jamahal Hill shocked a lot of us despite being the favourite by outclassing Glover Teixeira in every aspect, and not only becoming the new light heavyweight champion, but also becoming the first person from Dana White's Contender Series to become a champion. Now in this video I'm going to be breaking down Jamahal's excellent performance, as well as Goddard's shocking performance as the referee, and I'll also be addressing Glover's retirement and the disrespectfulness of the fans in Brazil. But without further ado, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, as it helps out the channel a lot. And let's begin the breakdown of Jamahal Hill vs Glover Teixeira. So let's start off by talking about Jamahal Hill's performance, in which he captured a belt. And I think this performance shocked a lot of people and also proved a lot of people wrong, myself included. Now I personally predicted Glover to get this one done by second round sub, but I couldn't have been any more wrong. Jamahal Hill outclassed and dominated Glover in every aspect of the fight, and the final stats were 2 for 17 takedowns for Glover. And listen, I knew Jamahal Hill had been working on his grappling and takedown defense from the Countdown embedded videos, but I thought that Glover's grappling would be too much in the end. But Hill's takedown defense was on point tonight. Really impressive, and against the cage he was able to defend the takedown and reverse the position to become the one controlling the clinch. And even when Glover got him down, Hill was either straight back to his feet or sweeping Glover from mount pretty easily, using his pure athleticism. So if Hill keeps on working on his grappling and keeps fighting like his performance against Glover, he could be a problem for a lot of the division. But of course, where most people expected Jamahal Hill to have the most success, and where he did was on the feet, he was piecing Glover up bad and had him hurt multiple times. His hands were looking good, but his best weapon on the night was the roundhouse to the head. And I believe he was hitting it from a switch stance, but I might be wrong about that. But every time he connected, it seemed to rock Glover and it had him hurt bad. I think if Hill can use that in the future and disguise it, he could put out a lot of people in the 205 division. And we know he's already got power in his hands, he's a power puncher, and he dropped Glover in round 3 and almost TKO'd him a few times. It's also worth mentioning that Jamahal Hill was having his leg kicked out by Glover in the first round and a half, and it looked like it was going to be a problem going forward, but he done a very good job adjusting to that and stopping Glover from capitalizing on it. This could be a problem going forward against other fighters like Jan, who like to throw leg kicks, but he did a good job against Glover stopping those leg kicks. And he also set a record for most significant strikes thrown in a light heavyweight fight, or something similar to that, putting up Holloway vs Cater numbers. So, yeah, overall, well done Jamahal Hill. Not sure how long he's going to hold on to the belt, but it's nice to have a champion who probably won't pull out based on the fact he's already got 6 kids. Now, someone who didn't have a flawless performance in this fight is Marc Goddards. For a start, some of the referees were trying to channel their inner Mario Yamasaki all night, but Goddard let a 43-year-old man take permanent damage, and I was convinced Glover was going to fall at any moment. It was becoming really hard to watch. Now, fair enough, he did call the doctor in at the end of round 4 to assess Glover, and the doctor let it carry on, which is also disappointing from the doctor, because he had a similar cut to Figgy, only above his eyebrow, and he didn't call this fight off. Now, I'm not a doctor, so who knows, he probably seen something that I didn't, but Glover's face looked more battered to me, and it wasn't called off, so L from the doctor there if that's the case. But Marc Goddards, in a world where CTE is more studied than ever, in a world where Phil Baroni did what he did, and I actually want to mention a video Jesse on Fire made where he breaks down a video of Baroni and the late Stephan Bonner on an aeroplane, where we can clearly see that they both have some sort of head trauma. And in a world where Glover's last fight was a war with Yuri Prochazka, which probably took a toll on both men, why do you think it's okay to allow Glover, a 43-year-old man, to carry on fighting after he's been rocked and wobbled multiple times and dropped? I know there was that moment in round 5 where Glover took down Jamahal and got mount and maybe looked like he was going to get a Hail Mary, but he got swept relatively easily. And respect to Glover, he wanted to carry on like a true warrior. He was in the corner going, come on, let's go, let's fight, but you should have stopped it. But this actually leads on nicely to the next part of the video, which is Glover's retirement. First of all, respect to Glover, a legend of the sport who went out on his shield, the second oldest UFC champion in history, only behind Randy Couture. And a lot of people, never thought he would win the belt. He would always fall short, whether it be to John Jones, Gustafsson or Rumble. And looking back on that Rumble knockout, it puts into perspective how powerful Rumble really was. Because Glover was taking shots off heavy hitters late into his career. For example, someone like Jamahal Hill, but Rumble put him out in one shot, which is really impressive in retrospect. And then, of course, Glover had that late career resurgence in his 40s and finished everyone apart from Nikita Krylov on his way to the belt. So, huge respect to Glover, proving that if you work hard, don't give up, you can achieve your dreams. Now, in his post-fight interview, he said that he knew it was time to hang up the gloves because he was taking heavy amounts of damage at 43, so respect to him for getting out of the game before he took permanently brain-altering damage. And he also said he's going to focus on training Pereira in his future fights, which I think will benefit Pereira gratefully. Obviously, Glover was training for his second fight with Yuri at the time of Adesanya Pereira, but now Glover can channel all his time and knowledge into Pereira. He's also outlined a plan for Pereira, saying he's going to stay at middleweight and defend the belt a few times before moving up to light heavyweight. So Jamahal Hill better watch out, because Pereira's probably going to come and get revenge for Glover. But with Glover fully focusing on Pereira, I'm interested to see how long he holds on to the belt. Unfortunately, though, something ruined this retirement, and do you know what it was? It was a crowd. To be completely honest with you all, I wouldn't even be annoyed if UFC never went back to Brazil. This crowd was just super disrespectful to Moreno, Jamal, and even their own fighter in Glover. And this isn't even a crowd that's spoiled by the UFC. This is the first event in Brazil since 2020, and that took place in front of no fans. So really, it's the first time since November of 2019 that the fans in Brazil have had an event. And they just disrespect the fighters, and throughout the whole night were pretty quiet. I think the loudest they were all night was for Bonfim versus McKinney, and even then the arena was pretty empty at that point, which I'm okay with that. I can understand fans missing the first few fights, outside circumstances and all that, but when you're chucking beers at a fighter so they have to be escorted and rushed out of the arena, what makes you think you deserve another card? I can understand fighters who are fighting fighters that are Brazilian being booed. They're going into the enemy territory, so the hostile response is expected, but if a fighter puts on a world-class performance and dominates for 5 rounds, regardless of if he beats your country's fighter, you shouldn't then be booing him when he breaks down crying after achieving his dream. It was really disappointing to see most of the crowd leave when this happened, and of course, Glover announced his retirement after this, and he's a legend. He deserved a full crowd cheering for him and applauding his performance, but instead he got maybe 2,000 people that actually appreciated the sport, and fair play to them, they were really respectful. But it's just disappointing to see this, and I wouldn't be mad if the UFC never went back to Brazil. They obviously will, because they've got lots of high-profile. But ultimately, guys, that is the end of this breakdown and analysis of the main event of UFC 283. I apologise, it wasn't my best quality video, but I really wanted to get this out there. And I've got a few videos coming up this week. Obviously, no UFC this weekend, so it leaves me open to experiment with more ideas. But if you did like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Protect yourself at all times, and I'll see you in the next one.